What's going on? It's Tuesday, March 24th, and we have a heat wave to talk about. We're still going to see some cold and warm air clash out east over the next 4 to 5 days, but then that heat's going to move out and really take over. More severe weather for portions of the Midwest. This is in a similar area to the severe weather we just saw. Not too overly concerned with this, but we'll get into the details in this video. I also want to talk about hurricane season. We all know it's right around the corner, and I'm already seeing some signs of what we could potentially expect this hurricane season, so we'll get into that. I know I've been gone for a week, but I'm back, and I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And of course, if you like the video, like the video. Let's get into the weather updates. All right, quickly starting off by taking a look at our live radar. A lot of moisture up here in the Pacific Northwest, high elevation snow, low elevation rain. We've got some snow showers moving through UP of Michigan and northern Michigan here. Not much though really overall going on across the states. Let's get into our outlook. Here's our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. It's gonna be hot. As we move into the 8 to 14 day, hot as well. Now in the short term, I do think we're gonna be a little bit cooler out east. You can see the average to below average temperatures as you push up into New England. We're going to have that cold and warm air clashing, like I said. This is also what's likely going to ignite some of that severe weather through portions of the Midwest as we get into Thursday. Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, maybe northern Kentucky, western PA, eastern Missouri. We're going to have to watch out for that severe weather. But again, it's hot moving forward. And this isn't just because we're getting into spring. Remember, this isn't saying it's going to be hot. This is saying it's going to be hotter than it should be for this time of year. Now, quickly, I want to go into our precipitation forecast as well. Here we go. So 1 to 2 day precipitation forecast. The Pacific Northwest has seen a lot of rainfall, a little bit of snow for the high elevations. Not much going on elsewhere around the country. We get into that 3-day precipitation forecast, and suddenly you see a lot of precipitation beginning to show up in this region here. This is going to be associated with our severe weather. So a little bit of rain beginning to move into Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Again, maybe southern Michigan and then western PA. We've got some of that precipitation moving into New England as well. Speaking of our severe weather, here is our Thursday risk zone. You can see the marginal includes cities like Pittsburgh, almost all the way up to Buffalo, Detroit, Lansing, Chicago, out here towards Kansas City, St. Louis, down to Louisville, Huntington. The slight, a little bit smaller, Fort Wayne, Columbus, Indianapolis, almost down there to St. Louis, but Cincinnati, you're in there as well. All right, so let's go over our 7 and 10 day forecast. Here we go. This is the European model. Right now, we obviously have some heat building up out west. You can kind of see this ridge out west and some of this cold air still pushing down into the northeast. We move through the day today and into tomorrow, and we start to see a little bit of a storm system trying to make its way out towards upper New England. Still have that precipitation funneling into the Pacific Northwest, really just the Northwest in general. But we have a lot of heat building up in the plains. Push through Wednesday, we get into Thursday, and then here we go. Our jet begins to collapse. We start to get a little bit of that Bear Clinic boundary setting up. Some drier air to the north, some more moist air to the south, and you have those colder temperatures to the north, the warmer temperatures to the south. This is going to help with this is going to be our lift mechanism here. It is going to try to ignite some strong thunderstorms. Here's the thing though. I don't think we have any sort of sharp temperature gradient or steep dew point boundary here. So I'm not overly concerned about very, very strong supercells. The instability isn't really here. I do think this could be a decent wind threat. I do think there may be a small tornado and hail threat. Just something to watch. Now, this could change over the next 24 to 48 hours as this develops, as our short range models come in. And if it does, I'm going to update you. But here we go. This is as we get into Thursday afternoon, pushing into Thursday evening. You can see all of that rainfall beginning to form across portions of the Midwest up towards New England. And again, this is where we could see a little bit of severe weather through this sector here. Now, as we get into tomorrow, the SPC will release the risk zones for tornado, hail, and wind, and we'll go over that in tomorrow's video, also in tomorrow's live stream. I'll be live streaming tonight as well. So this system's going to move out. We get into Friday, more cold air collapsing, below average air. This isn't that deep winter air, but more cold air collapsing out east. You still got a large ridge out west. We are hot. We are baking out west still. And then we get into Saturday and Sunday. That heat begins to move off into the east. Now, this is interesting. You do, as we get into early next week, see we have a decent looking storm system trying to push down into New England. If this thing cuts any more south, we could get an okay late snow up here in upper New England. But right now, it's a little bit farther to the north. This pattern getting into March 30th, March 31st, April 1st could end up being somewhat aggressive. I'm not completely sold on it yet. We have a little bit too much of a zonal flow, but we're seeing potentially some upper level lows trying to cut through the plains. We have this big high pressure off into the southeast, and this could act as a funnel for heat, moisture, and really pump up our instability across portions of the plains and the Ohio Valley as we get into the middle of next week. Now you can see here as we get into the middle of next week as well, or as we get to the beginning of next week, a lot of moisture still funneling into the northwest. So a lot of rainfall, high elevation snow still falling out here in Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Northern California. Now, right around the 31st, 1st, and 2nd, I do think we'll start to see an extended period of heat for the east, and that cold, warm air clash over and over again. That's kind of annoys everyone because it keeps tricking you. Is it spring? Is it winter? I think that this is when that stops, at least for a period of time. Now, we can see what happens as we get into the beginning in the middle of next week. You start to see a lot of precipitation out west, a lot of potentially thunderstorms, rainfall moving over the plains, the Ohio Valley. This could be very, very active, and we're going to have to watch it closely. And I do want to break this down a little bit more. But what you really need to know is next week, we're warm from coast to coast. We're going to see precipitation from the west to the east coast and potentially multiple days of severe weather. A little bit of snow maybe as we get into the end of next week as well, really the middle to the end of next week out there over the Rockies, and a storm system trying to push up towards the northern plains and up towards the upper Midwest. So something to pay attention to. All right, so let's break down this severe weather a little bit more. And I'm going to get into the details on Thursday's severe weather tomorrow, just because the SPC will kind of, like I said, break down the hail, tornado, and wind chances. I'll go over that with you, and we'll look at all the severe weather parameters. But this setup right here could end up being a bust, or it could end up being something pretty significant. So as we get into early next week, you'll notice we have a somewhat significant high pressure off into the southeast here. And we're going to see some upper level lows forming up here through portions of the Rockies northern plains. And these troughs are going to try to eject across the plains, Ohio Valley, up towards the northeast. So this is Sunday, and we could see some severe weather here. You can see that shear moving across the Great Lakes region, portions of the plains, Midwest. Watch as we get into Monday, and then as we get into Tuesday. Another jet streak across the plains here, and this is what I'm talking about. Upper level low up here to the northwest. We have a high pressure down here to the southeast. You're going to start to get that funnel of moisture and heat pulled off the Gulf right up through Tornado Alley, Dixie Alley. And then as we push through Tuesday and into Wednesday, you see an even more significant jet streak right there through portions of Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, southeastern Nebraska, Oklahoma. And then that pushes off to the east, and we may see another upper level low trying to dig across the northern plains. And you can see that trough ejection across the plains up towards the Midwest. This high pressure, this is now Thursday into Friday, still helping to funnel all that moisture, all that instability up into the center of the country here. Remember, in the northern hemisphere, winds move clockwise around a high pressure. So that's the way directionally your winds are moving. And around the low, they move counterclockwise. And that's why you get these what we call trough ejections. It ejects all of this instability across the country. And this is when you get a lot of shear. This is when you can get tornado outbreaks and severe weather outbreaks in general. So this does have the potential to be a very active week next week. I want to see what happens with our jet stream to the north. I want to see how aggressive these upper level lows are, how far to the south they sit. There's some potential here for 2, 3, if not 4 days of somewhat significant, if not significant, severe weather next week. Just taking a quick look at our temperature anomalies. You see that cold air out east, all that warm air out west. Now watch the east. The east is going to continue to battle with cold and warm. Here's that warm moving out east. More cold for the east, though, as we get to Saturday, Sunday. But then here comes the warmth again, and then some more cold as we get into Monday and Tuesday. But as I said, as we get towards April 1st, you start to see that warmth taking over from coast to coast. And it looks like we're going to try to get some sustained warmth, at least out east. But that does allow a little bit of a window for some storm systems, some cold, and maybe some more Rocky Mountain snow out west. I did quickly want to touch on hurricane season. You can see we have some warm water out there in the ENSO 3.4 region, but you take a look out further east, the MDR, main development region, where our hurricane season could get started. It's cool, but very warm waters right now, very warm anomalies. The Gulf Caribbean, really central and western North Atlantic. Take a look at the 7-day change though. Still, ENSO 3.4 region is heating rapidly. We're trying to get through this ENSO neutral into an El Nino to start next winter. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though. You can see warm anomalies here over the last 7 days, warm to average anomalies. But overall, this area is definitely heating. This is why we're pushing towards an El Nino, maybe a very strong El Nino. And by the way, MDR might be cool right now, main development region, but it's warming. And all these areas out here that are above average are actually cooling. So interestingly enough, and I talked about this on stream, I think if we're going to have any sort of hurricane season this year, it needs to be front loaded. As we get closer to that El Nino, a lot of thunderstorms are going to begin to form. A lot of convection is going to begin to form along the eastern equatorial Pacific. And that's going to cause a lot of vertical wind shear to be transferred off into the east, a lot of instability, and that's going to be difficult for these tropical systems to push through. You typically see a lot of wind shear over the Gulf, over the Caribbean, over the Western Atlantic during an El Nino because of all that convection, because of all that energy being transferred off into the east, and that just takes off the top of these systems. But if we do continue to see the MDR warming and we get some early season tropical systems heading towards the States, heading towards the Caribbean, Gulf, Western Atlantic, before we've really transitioned into that El Nino, which we're not going to be in an El Nino at the beginning of hurricane season, we could see some significant tropical systems earlier on in the season. I think as we get towards mid to late hurricane season, it's going to be tough for some of these tropical systems to penetrate the Western Atlantic basin, just due, again, to heavy wind shear and just a really unfavorable environment overall. Big question though still, where's our Bermuda High? Does it set up here and drive all our storms out into the open Atlantic? Does it sit closer to the States and drive them towards the US? That question's still up in the air, but we'll talk about that on stream. Remember, I do stream most nights at around 9 p.m. Here's what's happening with our El Nino 3.4 index. Very clearly, we are moving into an Enzo neutral and up towards an El Nino. You can see right here, this right here is our Enzo neutral, and we do have Enzo neutral conditions currently in the Enzo 3.4, but you need to be in those conditions for about 3 months to officially transition into that Enzo phase. So we still technically are in a weak La Nina, but we're making our way into an Enzo neutral and again, up towards an El Nino. Like I said, I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I also have an awesome weather Discord with almost 700 weather enthusiasts in it, where I show you all these maps and I update it pretty much every day to tell you what's going on with severe weather, winter weather, tropical weather, everything, climatology. It's all in there. There's a link to the Discord right down in the description below. You can join. It's completely free. I also tell you when I'm getting on live and when my videos are going to be posted, and I just communicate with you guys in there. So if you want to join there, it's honestly an awesome weather Discord. Again, I really appreciate you guys watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one or in the live stream tonight.